His eye just turned green.
What do you mean they turned green?
Oh, hell nah.
Don't throw it to me! What happened?
It just turned green and I was cleaning my room.
What do you mean it turned green?
It's his eye.
His eye?
Yeah.
Why don't you ever do anything cool like that? I wish that his eyes turned green. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor, and on this channel we talk about life and relationships after leaving the church and do some commentary on the goings-on in evangelical Christianity. So as we do for most holidays in Texas, Drew and I spent Independence Day at my family's house swimming and lounging around their pool. At one point while we were swimming, my 5-year-old nephew looked at me and kind of out of the blue asked, "Did you know Labubus are cursed?" Of course, as a chronically online person, I had already caught wind of the Labubu conspiracy theory taking over Christian TikTok, but I replied, "Well, what do you mean?" He answered, "Labubu dolls are evil. Don't put one next to your bed at night because it will get you." As far as I know, my nephew doesn't own a Labubu. I don't know if he even knows what Labubus are. Nevertheless, the online rumor that Labubus are evil or demonic is so widespread at this point that even my 5-year-old nephew has heard about it. So in today's video, I'd like us to analyze this internet conspiracy and discuss its possible connection to a horror movie that's over 50 years old. If you're a longtime fan of mine, you probably already know what movie I'm talking about, but be a sport and don't ruin it in the comments, please. With peace and love, of course. Before we get to any of that though, what in the tribble are Labubus? For all of my viewers who do indeed live under a rock, Labubus are these mega viral plushie-like dolls sold by the Chinese toy company Pop Mart. The retailer describes them as being a devilish but cute monster with pointed ears, a charmingly mischievous smile, and very sharp teeth. Hong Kong-born artist Casing Lung initially created them to accompany his trilogy of books titled The Monsters. Contrary to the theorizing on Christian TikTok, which we will get to shortly, Lung drew inspiration from Nordic fairy tales while creating Labubu. Pop Mart actually launched the toy Labubus back in 2019, but they didn't become as massively popular as they are now until Blackpink singer Lisa started accessorizing with Labubus and was photographed with Labubus in 2024. Since then, other celebrities such as Kim Kardashian and Rihanna have also shown off their Labubu collections to their fans. Apparently, Kim K's 9-year-old son, Saint, even hacked his mom's Instagram to ask her followers to subscribe to his YouTube channel, and he then requested Pop Mart send him some of the giant Labubus and rainbow-toothed Labubus. So Pop Mart only releases new Labubus in these limited weekly batches called drops. These drops occur every Thursday night on their website and every Friday in Pop Mart stores. These limited releases create a sense of urgency among customers who fear the best Labubus will be gone before they can successfully secure one. Labubu dolls often sell out online within just a few minutes, and brick-and-mortar Pop Mart stores regularly have long lines wrapping around city blocks before they even open. One user on Reddit reported waiting in line for 8 hours starting at 4 a.m. and receiving a special edition Labubu which Pop Mart produced in fewer than 200 copies. Okay, so we've established that Labubus are all the rage right now, but when did people start thinking they were demonic? Not to toot my own horn, but a few months ago, before the rumors really began to swirl online, I had a feeling that people would try to connect Labubus to demons and Satan. You guys know that I like to keep tabs on the world of evangelical Christian influencers, and in May, I saw that Emmy Moore, who's a popular Christian influencer with over 1 million followers on TikTok, had a video go viral in which she lamented Labubu's popularity.
Those little Labubu, the freaks are so freaking scary. Why are we at a point in our culture to where like little demon character dolls are trendy and you're putting them on a Miu Miu bag or on a Dior satchel and this thing is like, I'm like, this thing is so scary, and it's grown women putting this on their satchels like you're carrying a demon with you. Like, this thing is scary, and I I don't know. There was this girl that I met at a restaurant and she recognized me from TikTok. She's like, oh my gosh, Emmy, I love your content. And she complimented my outfit. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And so I love to throw compliments back. And I saw she had this cute little charm on her bag, but it was turned the other way. Little did I know it was a little miniature demon. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this charm on your bag is so cute. And she flips this mug around. It's like, and I'm like, I take it back. Like, this thing is scary. Like, why do you have it on your bag? And then ever since that encounter, I've been seeing these little Labubus everywhere. The little Babubu needs to go because this is so... I'm like, where have we gotten when it comes to like fashion? The Sunny Angels, I could have kind of gotten because they cute little babies with the little hats and stuff. Sure. The Labubus? Like, we're normalizing demons as decor and as fashion statements. I was like, these things literally look demonic. And we're putting them on cute little bags. Like, what are we doing? And we're grown women. I don't know. I don't get it. If you get it and that's your thing, that could be your thing. But as a God-fearing woman, I refuse to pin a demon to my bag.
I will admit, I've been watching horror movies and listening to heavy metal music since I was basically a preteen, so maybe I'm just desensitized, but how on God's green earth are Labubus scary? Like, they're about as scary as my pug thinks he is when he hears somebody walking down our hallway. Emmy says she doesn't understand how grown women are attaching these demons to their purses, but girl, I don't understand how you can be a grown woman and think these little plushies look demonic. Why don't you go back in time to when you were 14 and watch the movie Quarantine and then tell me if Labubus are scary? I know, Quarantine kind of flopped, I think, back in 2008 when it came out, and it's like largely disliked, but damn, that movie like scared the shit out of me when I was younger. Seriously, when I was 14, I thought Quarantine was the scariest thing ever. So many people actually did take issue with Emmy's TikTok. One user commented, God-fearing woman here. I don't like them personally, but this is a very bold take in my opinion. Like, it's not that serious, sis. Another commented, my Labubu goes to church with me, hun. Emmy then clarified that she wasn't being serious in her TikTok and that she just thinks that Labubus are ugly. Replying to one user who told her she's over-spiritualizing things, Emmy said, I'm just being dramatic for the comedy. I appreciate that Emmy clarified her thoughts, but can she really blame her viewers for thinking she was serious? After all, in her TikTok, Emmy said verbatim that Labubus are normalizing demons as decor and as fashion statements, and that as a God-fearing woman, she refuses to pin a demon to her bag. I think she's asking too much of her viewers to read between the lines and correctly intuit that she's exaggerating for comedic effect. After all, Emmy kind of markets herself as a Christian influencer, and a conservative Christian influencer at that. And she also hosts a Girls Gone Bible-esque evangelical podcast. In my opinion, it would be right on brand for her to believe that Labubus are in fact demons. At any rate, there were a few commenters who took her TikTok literally. One user said, y'all, she's saying she feels is wrong in her spirit. You have to have a close relationship with God to have discernment. I'm trying to get there, but you can't call her loud for what feels demonic to a lot of people. Another said, amen, I had the same discernment with these monsters. To clarify, I don't think Emmy's TikTok was like the origin of the Labubu internet conspiracy, as these rumors were already circulating, particularly on Facebook and Reddit. But do I think it exacerbated the situation and gave the conspiracy theory new legs? Yeah, it probably did. It's not a reach to think that other aspiring TikTokers took Emmy's joke and then ran with it. After all, only a month or so later, people started posting videos to TikTok in which they explicitly claim that Labubus are demonic and that they harbor the energy of a specific Mesopotamian demon. Can you guys guess which demon? That's right, Pazuzu, the same demon that possessed Reagan in the 1973 horror film The Exorcist.
Are Labubus demonic creatures that came straight from hell? They're marketed as these adorably creepy collectible little dolls, and I love them, but what if they're a little darker than you might think? People are actually starting to point out that they resemble Babylonian deities. On top of that, there's an actual demon named Pazuzu, which sounds very similar to Labubu.
If you have one of these in your home, be careful, because these little dolls are going viral online and people are saying that it carries some serious demonic energy. The creator said that it's inspired by Nordic mythology, but many are comparing it to Pazuzu, which is a Mesopotamian demon known for bringing chaos. I do believe if you bring in some dark energy willingly into your home, that it can mess with you spiritually.
Pazuzu had the body of a beast, wings, claws, and a fanged mouth. Labubu, fanged smile, clawed hands, and often bat-like ears or horns. Coincidence, or a modern return of an ancient form? Pazuzu was known to repel other demons but was unpredictable and often turned on humans. Now, Labubu controls people through TikTok, collection addiction, and marketing. It creates obsession, absurd prices, and online drama. This is psychological possession, not violent rage. Labubu appears to reincarnate endlessly, new design, new name, new form every month. Just like demons adapting to each era, from sacrificial altars to influencer shelves. Oh, sweetie, you're not describing psychological possession. You're just describing capitalism. Hotmart isn't manufacturing demand for Labubus to bind their customers to Satan. They're just maximizing profits in a capitalist hellscape. So out of all the demons our culture is familiar with, why Pazuzu? Pazuzu isn't a demon typically associated with Christian mythology. It's also not a demon related to Chinese or Nordic mythology. Well, from what I've gathered, the main reason given is relatively simple. Labubu rhymes with Pazuzu. I'm not kidding. Another reason, as one TikTok account pointed out, is that Labubus supposedly resemble Pazuzu. But do they? According to one description I found, Pazuzu is characterized as having a rather canine face with abnormally bulging eyes, a scaly body, a snake-headed penis, the talons of a bird, and usually wings. As far as I know, Labubus don't have scaly bodies or talons, and they certainly don't have snake-headed penises. Okay, so I don't buy that people are linking Labubus to Pazuzu because their names rhyme or because they look similar. I think all of this goes back decades earlier, actually, to a fun little movie called The Exorcist. Because just like Ronald Reagan, The Exorcist ruined everything. Okay, The Exorcist didn't really ruin everything. I actually really like that movie, but the novel and subsequent movie and movies were massively popular and changed the way we think about demons and Satan, especially in the United States. In the story, a malevolent entity possesses a young girl named Reagan. Recruited by Reagan's mother, two priests attempt to exorcise the entity from Reagan. The exorcism is eventually a success, but only after a significant cost is accrued. Although the movie doesn't explicitly state this, the entity is assumed to be Pazuzu, an ancient Mesopotamian demon. See, before Reagan's possession, one of the priests unearths a statue of Pazuzu during a dig, and images of the demon flash on screen during the movie. So could people be linking Labubus to Pazuzu because they heard about Pazuzu from a movie? To answer this question, I reached out to Dr. Joseph Laycock, a religious studies professor who has written an entire book, The Exorcist Effect, about the influence The Exorcist had on religion and culture. At the core of this Labubu conspiracy is the idea that they're somehow related to the Mesopotamian deity Pazuzu, or that they contain Pazuzu's force. Do you think that there's any connection to The Exorcist with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Nobody knows about Pazuzu except through the movie The Exorcist, right? Unless you're a serious ancient Near Eastern archaeology nerd, The Exorcist is the only, context for which you're going to know that name. And it's a coincidence that Pazuzu's in The Exorcist at all, and that's because William Peter Blatty was in the Foreign Service and he saw Pazuzu in a museum when he was in the ancient Near East, and that's why he picked that to put it in his novel. So, yeah, this is 100% a byproduct of the popularity of The Exorcist.
Yeah, and do you feel like since the movie that Pazuzu has kind of come into like the cultural vernacular, I suppose, and like kind of people see it as relating to the devil himself?
Yeah, I mean, Vladdy said in my novel, it's never really clear what the demon is, right? At one point it says it's the devil, and then it's also at the same time somehow Pazuzu, although that's never actually explained very well. So yeah, it definitely equates these two figures together, and ever since then Pazuzu has kind of been in the culture. I think on Futurama, the professor has like a mutant gargoyle named Pazuzu. There's bands named Pazuzu. There was even a deranged murderer who changed his name to Pazuzu. So it's out there, and it's all because of The Exorcist.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that I guess ancient people would have thought of demons and thought of Pazuzu isn't really the same way that we would have thought of demons kind of in our Christian context, because we see them as being like exclusively evil, versus in ancient Mesopotamia, they would have seen demons as like kind of ambivalent, or you can use them for positive or negative things. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, that's right. Our sort of modern notion of there are good spirits and there's evil spirits and ever the twain shall meet is actually relatively modern if we're talking about thousands of years of history. The ancient world wasn't really concerned with are spirits good or evil. They were concerned with are they powerful or not, right? The Israelite religion revolved around going with God, whether God's being nice or being mean, because God's very, very powerful. And similarly, Pazuzu was regarded as a powerful spirit, and this is even referenced in the film The Exorcist, but we found throughout the ancient Near East little Pazuzu amulets with little loops on the top, and those could be worn around your neck to ward off evil. So most people in the ancient Near East would have seen Pazuzu as kind of scary looking but necessary, because Pazuzu could keep away an even worse demon called Lamashtu. So Lamashtu was actually the one that everybody was trying to get rid of, but Lamashtu isn't in The Exorcist, so most people have never heard that name before.
Right. And it's kind of funny to me because I feel like the main reason that people like are associating Labubus with Pazuzu is because they rhyme. But like you pointed out in email to me that like Labubu also rhymes with Lamashtu. So like why Pazuzu specifically? And like as you're saying, it's because this has kind of just become like a common thing that everybody can recognize because of The Exorcist. So a component of this conspiracy theory that I actually forgot to mention to Joe is the idea that in their 2017 episode Treehouse of Horror 28, the popular animated show The Simpsons predicted the Labubu Pazuzu connection.
There's even an episode of The Simpsons that references this craze. The episode not only features Labubus, but it features Pazuzus too. In the episode, Homer opens a doll that resembles this exact deity. He names it Pazuzu. And the moment he looks into the doll's eyes, he becomes possessed. And sure, this is just a cartoon, but where do these stories come from?
So let's clear this up. Labubus were not in this episode of The Simpsons. In the episode, Homer buys Maggie a blind box toy, which turns out to be a figurine of Pazuzu. Hey guys, Editing Taylor here. So I need to make a correction on this. So I haven't seen this episode of The Simpsons, but it's actually not the case that Homer buys Maggie a blind box toy. He actually ends up receiving the figurine of Pazuzu because he places an order on Amazon after seeing a listing for something he assumed was pizza. And so that's how they ended up getting it. And then he placed it in Maggie's crib, and then she ends up getting possessed. So this should be a warning to you to never take Google's generative AI as gospel, because that's what I did. I Googled this episode, the plot of this episode, and that's what it gave me, and it was very incorrect. This is like the second or third time that I've had issues with AI, which just goes to show you that AI is not making us smarter. It's just further overwhelming us with more and more information when we're already just bombarded with information on a daily basis. So yeah. And just as a clarification, I do not use AI or chat GPT or anything like that really in the process of making videos. I only ever use it if I'm just like Googling something real quick, just, you know, something that's not like integral to the video. I'm actually very much, I know some YouTubers think it's okay to use chat GPT to like outline videos or develop points for them. And I'm actually very much against that because I think it takes a lot of the creativity and what I love about writing scripts and making videos. I think it takes it out of that. So yeah.
Blind boxes or mystery boxes where customers are unaware of the item they've purchased until they open the box aren't new and definitely weren't invented by Pop Mart. Claims that various episodes of The Simpsons have predicted future events also aren't new. For example, many claim that the show predicted the presidency of Donald Trump in an episode that aired in 2000. However, as a writer for the show stated in a BBC article, they were simply looking for any celebrity who would make a funny president. Trump had also said before 2000 that he considered running for president. Look, The Simpsons has aired nearly 800 episodes since its debut in 1989, and odds are that some episodes will parallel future events. But this doesn't mean that the writers of The Simpsons are like fortune tellers or something. Another component of this theory is a Bible verse that talks about how the devil masquerades as an angel of light. They claim that Satan often infiltrates people's lives in innocent-looking ways.
Do not, and I repeat, do not buy your children one of these. Don't do it. The devil is so sneaky, crafty, and manipulative in how he enters our houses, our minds, our children's lives. And he will do anything to get into the lives of children, especially by way of toys, movies, shows, things that look so innocent on YouTube. But I warn you, do not buy this for your children.
Let's see what Joe thinks about this.
I also want to talk about how they're like kind of supporting this claim here. So many of these TikTokers are supporting this with quoting 2 Corinthians 11:14, which says Satan masquerades as an angel of light. And their claim is that Satan and the demonic often use pretty like innocuous things like toys to like gain a foothold in people's lives. And do you think that this idea that the devil can use things like toys, is that at all connected to The Exorcist?
Yeah, I mean, the passage in 2 Corinthians, you know, this is kind of a pet peeve with how people use Paul, but Paul is writing very specifically about a heretical group to him called the super apostles, right? This other group of people trying to start a different a gospel. He clearly didn't mean anything that looks nice or innocent is to be regarded with deep paranoia and suspicion. He certainly was not talking about children's toys, right? But the passage has been used today to justify pretty much any paranoid notion. I do think that part of the reason The Exorcist was an effective horror movie is because it had this image of this child in danger. It really cemented the idea that things like the Ouija board could be a doorway, letting demons into your house. And so I guess they have kind of retroactively tried to find Bible passages to support this idea, but I think it's a relatively modern notion.
Yeah, I've had this specific Bible quote, like Bible verse quoted at me several times, and people like use it for everything. I made a video about the movie Wicked, and people were saying that Wicked is demonic and it's about witches, and you know, it's only popular because Satan like masquerades as an angel of light. And so I think you can really use this verse to support whatever you want to claim is demonic.
Okay, pretend for a moment that you bought a Labubu and think it's possessed. What do you do now?
What happened?
His eye just turned green.
What do you mean they turned green?
Oh, hell nah.
Don't throw it to me! What happened?
It just turned green and I was cleaning my room.
What do you mean it turned green?
It's his eye.
His eye?
Yeah. Here. It's actually getting too small.
People are now burning and getting rid of their Labubu dolls after learning that they are demonic. And some people claim that they've seen them moving around the house to different locations. Like they'll put them in one area and then they'll find it later in a completely different area. As you can see, this woman right here is having a hard time burning hers right here, so she just decides to rip it to pieces.
Yeah, people really are setting their Labubus on fire. Something I didn't mention at the beginning of this video is that Labubus retail from anywhere from $30 to $90. There's no way in hell I'd ever destroy something that I paid that much for, possessed or not. Not in this economy. I mean, with all of the spooky shit I have all over my house, I'm probably already possessed anyway. Ask any conservative Christian YouTuber if I'm possessed, and they're probably going to tell you that I am. I was curious to see what Joe thought of these TikToks. After all, these videos are, in essence, a commodification of ritual practice in which the TikToker makes financial gains while also signaling their allegiance to a specific religious tradition. I've also seen in the past few weeks, there's a lot of videos going pretty viral. I think one of them has like almost 6 million views of people destroying their Labubus or burning them. And a lot of these people will say that it's not enough to just throw your Labubu away, that you need to like burn or destroy it. And that's the only way to like rid yourself of this like Labubu curse. And what I find really interesting is that they're not just doing this, but they're also like recording themselves doing this and then uploading it to TikTok. So my question for you would be, what role do you think that these viral videos play in perpetuating this conspiracy theory?
Right. I mean, I guess the charitable way to look at it is if you think that purchasing this doll has activated what Ed Warren called the law of invitation, and you now have kind of an oral agreement with the demon, as it were, then I guess burning it would be like destroying a contract or something like that. That's the charitable way to look at it. The less charitable way to look at it is this is all coming from a place of egotism, right? This is all coming from, oh, you thought that this was this cute doll, you thought it was cool, but I'm the only one smart enough to figure out that it's actually a satanic and it rhymes with Pazuzu, and I'm going to burn it so I can get more eyeballs on my TikTok channel.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe the fact that these videos are going so viral, and it's, I don't know, maybe it's kind of like a costly signaling kind of thing, where because they're like in the act of like taking this extreme measure of burning this object, that it kind of inspires people to also do the same. Do you think I'm on the right track here?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could also look at this as what folklorists call ostension, right? Ostension is you communicate an urban legend not through telling the story, but through actually acting it out, right?
Yeah.
So by acting out burning your Labubu doll, you are passing on this story that these dolls are demonic and they have to be set aflame.
So Labubus play a song. Fair warning, it's annoying as hell.
I'm back. I swear one day I am gonna get better at making videos and not have to insert these little corrections here and there. But it's actually not the case that Labubus play a song, but there are a lot of knockoff Labubus that people refer to as Lafufus, and a lot of them do have like a button where you can play a song. So I had seen a lot of those videos on TikTok, and so I just assumed that all Labubus could do that, but no. That's not the case. A final component of the Labubu conspiracy theory is the claim that if you play the Labubu song backward, it contains a secret demonic message. While there aren't any TikTokers directly making this claim, at least that I've been able to find, there are commenters who reference it. One user commented, "Go check out the other video of it singing backwards." Unfortunately, I couldn't find the video that they're referencing. But that being said, there are like these, I don't know how else to describe them, and people are probably going to disagree with me if you guys are fans of these channels, but there are
like clickbait YouTubers who are pumping out like loads of content based on this claim that if you play the Labubu song backward, that there's something spooky about it.
Okay guys, so we have the Labubu song here, and we are going to play it in reverse. It is currently 3 a.m. guys. You guys ready?
Yes.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. What the hell? What was at the ending of that? It was like some dark secret message. It sounded like demonic, didn't it?
I got shivers. I'm cold. That sounded demonic, didn't it?
Obviously, this YouTuber is being rather silly here. I don't think that they're taking any of this seriously. But as we established, one person's joke is another person's reality. Of course, I had to ask Joe what he thought about this. One kind of minor maybe component of this theory is that the Labubus play a song, like there's a button you can press and then the doll starts playing a song. And people are saying that if you play this song backward, that it contains a hidden demonic message. And this claim, it reminds me a lot of similar claims that were made decades ago about Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. And how common, in your opinion, are these claims of like backmasking, and are they usually a component of conspiracy theories like this?
Yeah, so backmasking is interesting because backmasking is real. You can record a message backwards. The thing is, when artists do that, and the Beatles have done this, and Prince has done it, and the B-52s have done it, almost no one ever actually hears the real backmasked message, right? Instead, they're listening to something where there is no backmasking, and they're just sort of detecting whatever pattern their brain prefers to listen to. And this started with kind of paranoia that the Beatles had something to do with communism and brainwashing and so forth. But again, what really made this famous was the movie The Exorcist. In that movie, Father Karras records kind of animalistic growling from Reagan, and then when he plays it backwards, you can suddenly hear the voice of the demon. And not only that, but the demon is now admitting its evil plans. It's saying things like, fear the priest, and so on. And so that movie came out at the end of 1973, and then by the end of the 70s, people were hearing demonic messages in Led Zeppelin and the Eagles and stuff like that, and it became kind of a pastime to find satanic messages in backwards rock albums.
Yeah. Also, a lot of people are saying, like, you need to do or play the song specifically at 3 a.m., and I know that 3 a.m. is considered, like, the witching hour. Is this also typically like a component of these type of conspiracy theories where people want you to like play a song or do some sort of action specifically at 3 a.m.?
As best I can tell, the association of 3 a.m. with evil goes back to the Amityville horror, right? The Ron DeFeo murders actually occurred at around 3 a.m. And then Ron DeFeo's lawyer conspired with the Lutz family to basically produce a hoax, right, that the house was haunted and so forth, that became the novel and the film, the Amityville Horror. And part of that sort of conspiracy was Ronnie DeFeo's lawyer said, well, I'm going to leak information to you about the case, and then you use that to make up your haunting story. So he said the murders happened at 3 a.m., and then the Lutzes were like, I don't know, just weird stuff keeps happening at 3 a.m. I don't know why. And so it seemed plausible. And then Ed and Lorraine Warren got involved, and so they were kind of inventing their own demonology as they went along. And then this mythology formed that, well, Jesus died at 3 p.m., and so 3 a.m. is, I guess, as far away from that as you can get, and that's why evil stuff happens at that hour. So we're really seeing a kind of modern demonology form beginning in the 1970s.
So yeah, while Christian TikTok really thinks that they've like done something here with the whole Labubu Pazuzu thing, what they don't realize is that this conspiracy theory is shaped more by horror movie tropes than anything else. Yeah, I just with looking at everything that people are saying about like the Labubus being demonic, it just seems to me that so much of it is just like these little like factoids or components of like movies or like prior mythology or narratives that have been developed, I guess, in our culture over the decades. And so do you think that like a lot of this, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the TikTok I sent you, but do you think that a lot of this really is coming from like The Exorcist and like just horror movies in general, and people are not really realizing that's where they're getting it from?
Yeah, I mean, this is coming from horror movie tropes and urban legends, and what's kind of sad and ironic is the Bible is like kind of like a little bit of sprinkling on the top, right? But they're sort of going to the Bible to try to cherry pick passages that support these ideas that they form based on horror movies, right? So the horror movies are now primary and the Bible is secondary, regardless of what these people might be claiming. Thinking about all of these conspiracy theories, it really does seem that a lot of what's going on here is don't look at that, look at me, right? Don't pay attention to this talented musician. They made a deal with the Illuminati, and I'm the only one smart enough to see the Illuminati symbolism in their videos. Everyone likes this new toy. Don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to me. I'm the only one who could figure out that it's satanic. Everyone's impressed that they made a vaccine for COVID, but I'm the only one smart enough to figure out it's actually putting a microchip in you. So I really do think this is coming from a place of kind of jealousy and egotism and a desire to just be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that a lot of this is happening on platforms like TikTok, where people can so easily disseminate this type of stuff to a really wide audience and gain kind of a following. Because a lot of the videos that I've looked at, like, they have like millions of views. So I do think that you're right. Like, some of this has to do with just wanting eyes on you or just feeling like you're special in some type of way.
Yeah, and I used to be more charitable, and I used to think, well, they're just afraid of something they don't understand. And now I don't think that anymore. Now I think that this is really coming from a desire to be the most important person in the room and an inability to tolerate other people being celebrated for their talents or achievements.
Right. Well, thank you so much for your thoughts. Is there anything you wanted to plug? Because I know that you are working on a book right now, so I'm not sure if you wanted to talk about any of that.
Yeah, the Penguin Book of Cults from Penguin Classics is coming out in October.
Joe has also written books on the Satanic Temple, Satanism, vampires, and Dungeons and Dragons, all of the spicy religious topics that I know my viewers love. So I'll have a link to all of his books down in the description, and seriously, go check it out. So I've referred to this whole Labubu Pazuzu thing as a conspiracy theory throughout this video, but for something to be a conspiracy, there needs to be some group orchestrating the alleged conspiracy, right? Well, that's where things get kind of murky. The perpetrator in this situation is apparently missing in action. Who exactly is behind the push to get these supposedly demonically possessed dolls in the hands of children and even adults? Is it Pop Mart? Is it Casing Lung, the creator of the Labubu character? Or is it some secretive satanic order? Out of all of the TikTokers I've watched, not one explains who is supposedly behind this plot. I've found that this lack of transparency isn't unusual for conspiracy theorists. After all, it's so much more entertaining to talk about all the spooky, scary shit that's supposedly happening rather than get into the mundane details of who exactly is doing it and why. What's fascinating to me is that while these Christian TikTokers so confidently claim Labubu dolls are the demon Pazuzu, they're actually revealing that horror movies have a greater influence on them than the Bible. I usually have Piggy here to do the sign off with me, but Drew actually just took him for a walk. So I am going to do the sign off with my Popia. And ignore the big hole in his head. I accidentally burned him with incense. Thank you guys so much for watching, and a huge thank you to my patrons who help make these videos possible. If you like this video, please be sure to subscribe and ring the bell. If you'd like to follow me on social media, my Instagram is Taylor_the_antibot. And if you'd like to consider supporting this channel financially, a link to my Patreon will be down in the description, and I'll see you on the next one. Say bye, Popia.